Hello and welcome to another episode of the Solo Enter podcast. Today we are joined here once again after our win over Atalanta, and of course I'm joined by Manish as usual. Um, Manish, we have an important game on Sunday. That is Torino, of course, and we are expected to win in general because Torino have been really poor this season. But before we delve into things completely about previewing the match, first of all, how are you doing, and what do you think Inter should be doing in this match? Because this is one of those matches which Conte keeps saying, you can't take any team lightly in the league in the first place, and I completely agree with him. But yeah, Torino have been poor, and we have beaten Atalanta, we've beaten Parma and Genoa, and we are expected to win this. But and we are on a high. So what do you make of all this form? What do you make of all the momentum we have right now? What do you make of Conte's tactical approach? The fact that he will actually be suspended for this game, and what do you make of everyone's form in general? Yeah, what's your take on it?
Yes, thank you, Parmesh, for the question. And yes, doing well. I think it's good time for all Inter fans, not just everyone all across the world, because we haven't been smiling. And also with the news that Juventus is out of Europe, although it's like going to be quite tricky because it might bite back at us. But it's good to see them always get out of Europe. And now it's like the media's attacking them with Ronaldo, with Pirlo. So I hope that continues and distracts them out of the title race. But saying that, yes, the week has been good. The Atlanta win was very crucial for us, and we got vital 3 points. And I think the celebration said it all because at the end of the day, it was a team effort. And when things work according to plan, it's right to celebrate. So that was good there. So now with the Torino match, these are the matches can be potential, the banana peels where you can just suddenly slip off, where nobody expects. I think the fortunes are quite similar. When we first faced them at San Siro, I think they were again out of several key players, and everybody expected us to take the match. I think for that particular game, their coach also was missing. So when we got stunned, I think we were losing 2-0, and then we came back. So we can never expect anything Torino. Torino is always those tricky teams we face. And considering the situation right now, Parmeshwar, they are like just a second from the bottom. And last week they lost one of the biggest match against the last place Croton. So again, a lot of key players missing for them. So this match is going to be quite tricky because we really don't know what to expect, who are going to play. Some reports say Belotti is going to play, some people is not going to play. And we ourselves, I think, while planning the team, that's very risky because Conti, how well he plans matches, how well he tries to focus on the tactics. But now not knowing who's going to start on their starting 11 could be quite tricky for us. Uh, and I think the new manager, David Nicola, it was his first defeat last game. So they're coming off a defeat. And now with the relegation battle and just 10 matches remaining, 10 to 11 matches remaining, it's going to be really tricky. And facing any relegation side, it's going to be really tricky at this point, Parmeshwar.
Yeah, I agree with you because yes, we have been on a high. Like we are unbeaten like of late. We're scoring goals. We're grinding wins out. Everything's going well, but it's not easy to play any team in the Serie A, in my opinion. Like I was watching Lazio Crotone earlier, and Lazio had to scrape a 3-2 win. So as you said, to your point, even if Torino are in a relegation scrap, it's not going to be easy. And just to touch upon Torino briefly, as you said, they've been really poor overall. And with the kind of signings they made, I expected them to be much better off, at least around 12th to 10th. But I think the mistake where they made was they hired Marco Giampaolo, who we knew about his past at AC Milan. You know how he was sacked after 6 games, winless games, and Giampaolo couldn't really get things going. And yes, maybe it was Torino's poor planning to an extent. Maybe I remember them being very over ambitious in the Mercato because they were really linked with players like Patrick Schick at one point, Lucas Torreira, and that's way too ambitious for a club like Torino, given the financial situation. Of course, anyone can dare to dream. That's not a problem. But given the financial situation, so maybe something went wrong over there. But Marco Giampaolo really messed up. Like they are 18th on the table. To your point, Manish, like that's in the relegation zone. Only four clear of Parma, who are 19th, and just basically competing with Cagliari, whom they beat before losing to Crotone. So it is right there. And Torino this season only have 3 wins, 11 draws and 10 losses. That just says a lot. I mean, how poor their season has been, and just scoring 35 goals and conceding 45 once again is way too much. But with that being said, those are like some of their basic stats that I've highlighted. Of course, I will be talking about their tactical approach later once we delve upon it. But I want to begin with quickly. I want to highlight a few key battles. You touched upon the first leg. I remember that was one hell of a tricky match, man. We were 2-0 down, and Wilfred Singh who took Ashley Young for a ride. And yeah, I mean, Zaza scored of all people. I remember, I can't forget. But I remember in that game, Alexis Sanchez made a really big difference after coming on. So that was that. But I want to touch upon a few key battles. The first player that comes to my mind is, of course, the man who's been carrying Torino, Andrea Bellotti. Of course, he has 11 goals and 5 assists. That's the highest goal scorer for Torino, highest assist provider for Torino. So, with that being asked, of course, how do you think he will match up against our defense? Of course, there's no doubt here we have one of the best defenses, Bastoni, Skriniar, De Vrij, that's there. But Belotti is someone who can still create problems, especially given how Torino play on the break. He is really lethal on the break. So, how do you think Belotti will take it to us, and how do you think we should match it to him? And at the same time, just to link it to Inter, because of course there are always reports of Belotti being linked with us, but most of them are not credible really. But still, is Belotti someone you would like at Inter? Of course, it's difficult to imagine that because our striking pair is elite in my opinion. But just something along the transfer line. Would you actually like to have Belotti, or what's your take on those two things?
Yes, obviously, Belotti is Torino's biggest threat. And I think, like you mentioned, the stats say it. He scored 11 goals and with 5 assists. He is the main threat. But he was been out for COVID and he missed also last match. I'm not really sure whether he's going to play, but there are contrasting reports saying he might actually start. But if he's nonetheless, he is definitely a threat. If he comes off the bench or he plays even like last 20 odd minutes, he's really good. So obviously, Belotti is the main guy. He's the captain, like you said. And I would say, along with Belotti, there's Wilfred Singo, who we saw in the first leg, who completely ran riots against Ashley Young. And I think Ashley Young's one of the worst performance. He gave away a stupid penalty kick on the player's chest. And along with the Juventus mistake, I think that was the end of Ashley Young pretty much. I don't think you're going to see him start any longer. But focusing on Belotti, this guy is really good. And I think his contract is getting over in 2022. And a lot of, I think, Torino fans have accepted the fact that the captain will be leaving. So that's like pretty much guaranteed thing now, because he wanted to leave before, but I think the owner is how persistent on keeping him, and he put overvalued his price to one point. I think he was
Yeah,
valued at 100 million.
100
So
million. Yeah, Milan tried really hard. Yeah,
yeah, so valued overvaluation for him 100 million, and
yeah,
but now pretty much his contract getting over, and if by chance they get relegated, it's I think about time. Belotti, his nickname is Cuckoo Belotti after his celebration, which is
yeah,
called the
yeah,
Rooster. But
yeah,
yes, saying Belotti, I would definitely think it would be a value addition for us. He's a guy who Conti would love to play because with him closing down opposition, with him running non-stop, I think he'll definitely add value off the bench. Not definitely start. Uh, he could be a good backup for Lautaro because I'm not sure if we're going to keep Sanchez in the long run. But Sanchez, if this form continues, yes. But saying that he's a pure goal scorer, he's been really good. And I think not just us, a lot of teams will be linked with him. Hopefully, with
mhm,
1 year left in his contract, his value will be quite. We can get him in a bargain. It'd be a good buy for us, Parmeshwar. He's really good. Yes, I would say Belotti to start with is the biggest threat for the match. And
yeah.
how
I
do you
mean,
contain
of
him?
course,
Sorry.
yeah. So I was just saying that I agree. Like, I mean, of course, Belotti is always a threat, and I agree with all the points you made about what he offers. I mean, I mean, with his injury track record, I've never been really keen on him because that really worries me about him. Because, and it's not just that he always finds himself in one of those unfortunate moments where he's on the end of a very hard tackle. So I don't know what it is. I mean, he's a good player. Nothing. I don't take anything away from him, but I don't think he'll also be able. He'll also accept like a rotational role with Lautaro Martinez. So I don't ever see it happening. But coming to the match, yes, he has just recovered from COVID. Yeah, I would like to point that out. He was out for actually 18 days to be very specific, and it is difficult to imagine him starting against us. maybe he comes off the bench, but he is going to be in the squad. The larger considering the larger picture, they have Sassuolo next to. That is when they are expecting him to start, but you never know, right? Things can turn on a dime. But that's Andrea Bellotti. The second player I would like to highlight, whom you just briefly mentioned, is Wilfred Singo. In my opinion, he's one of the best talents in the Serie A, young talents, because he's just suddenly burst onto the scene. He is Ivorian, and he's just, if I'm not, yeah, he's Ivorian and he's only 20. He's a right wing back, basically. And I remember he completely took it to Ashley Young earlier in the first leg. He ran, like he was running rings around him. He's very athletic in the first place. That height, and he also has good speed about him, and the biggest strength I think he has is winning aerial duels, because I watched him against Juventus this season, against Napoli, and those are big teams, and he put in a top-notch display in each against each and every one of them. And for a player who's basically just sealed cemented his right wing back spot, he has 2 assists and 1 goals, which is pretty fair. And given that he's not played for a while now due to COVID, and he's just recovered, I just read the news today that he has recovered as well. But it's hard to imagine him making into the 11 as well. So of course that is we look at that will be for later when we look at the predicted 11. But yeah, Wilfred Singo is a very impressive talent. I mean, very athletic. Has got good speed about him, and he will get stuck into the tackles. And of course, look, since we are talking about key battles, Perisic will have to, this time it won't be Ashley Young against him, and Perisic will have to double up on him. Perisic will have to be a bit cautious, in my opinion, while taking it to him, because it's not if Singo starts, most likely he won't, but just a probable scenario. But yeah, I mean, Perisic will have his work cut out for if Singo starts. So that is one key player I wanted to look at, regardless of him playing or not. The other one I want you to talk about, Manish, is Gleison Bremer, one of Torino's centre backs, because they also do play three at the back. So you had something to say about him? Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yes, so this 20-year-old Brazilian who we're talking about, Bremer, he's the next big thing. He's a good defender, very strong aerially. And I think after Belotti, he is the second top scorer at the club with 4 goals.
Yeah,
And he's very good at set pieces, scoring from set pieces. So that is a
yeah,
constant threat for us. Uh, and I think a lot of clubs are behind it because this season has been a breakout season for him. And he's really good with his defensive side of game, also his height and advantage. Set pieces, we have to keep a close eye with him eye on him. Also saying that we cannot forget Ansaldi, this guy. Whenever he plays against us, they pretty much use him like a trump card. He plays central midfielder, defensive midfielder, left wing back. Sometimes he plays center back, so he's all around the pitch, and he tends to perform well against us. So I'm just saying, keep an eye for these two guys from my side.
yeah. I mean, Gleison Bremer, of course, has scored 4 goals, and Torino's one of Torino's strengths, when I discuss about their tactical approach, is set pieces, and he does take an advantage of them. And along with that, Ansaldi, as I was going to touch upon, Ansaldi last season was actually really good. He played as a left wing back and even in midfield as a trequartist at times. Very surprising, but he did show good versatility. Of course, since Torino have been poor in general this season, it has not been easy for him. But he's someone, in my opinion, who can still cause problems if he wants to, because I think his movement along the lines is something that is dangerous if he can make it work. But of course, he's going to be up against Ashraf Hakimi, so that's not an easy battle for him. So I'm expecting Hakimi to get the better of him. I hope, at least. But I think he's one player we definitely need to keep an eye on, because I remember before the during the first leg or before the first leg, just before we played them, I remember Di Marzio reporting like Conte is sorry, Ansaldi is someone who's admired by Conte. Not that he wanted Ansaldi, but he likes Ansaldi as a player. So of course, that does say something over there. But apart from that, I would just quickly touch upon a few players who I feel can also prove to be crucial in this match for Torino. It's one is Armando Izzo, because this guy we've been linked with, he was one of the potential replacements for Skriniar. I'm glad he's not, because he's one of those hot-headed, rash players who just tends to get a lot of red cards. He loves to get stuck into tackles. But with that being said, he won't shy away to take it out, take it to Lukaku, to take it to Lautaro. He like Romero got stuck in last weekend. Um, that's how this thing Izzo will do. That's what Izzo will do as well. So it's he's one player we need to keep an eye out. And along with Izzo, I think yes, Salvatore Sirigu has had a really bad season. I won't deny that, but like the narrative that every goalkeeper turns into like
Yeah, that's
prime
always the case with
Yashin
us,
against,
Parmeshwar. So we
yeah,
can never rule out the
prime
keepers.
Yashin, yeah,
So
prime
they
Yashin against
say
us.
they
Yeah,
say Sirigu always has a bad game season overall, but against us,
yeah.
let's not count that.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. That's what I was about to come to. Like he does turn up against some big teams, and he still has got a few things up his sleeve. He's not that bad. He's just having a bad season, and I can't really fault him when you're playing in a team like Torino with such poor morale, such mess going on off the pitch, on the pitch. I can't really blame him overall, but that's Sirigu. And lastly, if I had to point one more player out, in my opinion, it's Simone Worthy. Yes, he's not the best of players, but he is someone who could. There, he's in contention with Zaza tomorrow to start alongside Belotti, and he has got 4 assists. He's their second highest assist provider, and 3 of them have come via set pieces. So it really again goes to show as to how much they do actually rely on set pieces. So that's with the key battles, Manish. That's their key battles in terms of how Torino will approach, in terms of who will line up against each other. But now I just want to cover a few things that were in the news like off late that were in the news off late. So that's one being Bastoni and Skriniar's interview because and of course Beppe Marotta's health condition. So to begin with, I want to ask you about Bastoni because Bastoni recently said something that I really like to hear. I mean, of course, these days players say a lot of things, but some of them don't mean it. But I think Bastoni is someone who bleeds black and blue, and he said it himself. Of course, at one point he was an AC Milan fan, but right now he's completely changed that. He's more passionate about Inter, of course, and he is an Inter fan. And he's also said that he would like to stay for like 10 plus years at the club and even eventually captain it. So yeah, coming to one of his key points in the interview, he said that he would of course like to captain Inter, and the fact that the best thing in my opinion he said in this interview was that he doesn't care about the money. He cares about playing more. So with that being said, and his overall interview, what did you just make of it quickly?
So Bastoni is like this. I think this season, obviously season was his breakout season, and this season he definitely stood up along with Skriniar and De Vrij and the partnership. Like they said, defenses win titles. Defense our season is one of the best I think in over a decade, hands down. Has been our best defense. I think you started off the season very badly, but we were lucky that this main three, De Vrij, Bastoni, and Skriniar, have been fit. So for his interview, definitely made sense now. Now that he's a key player for us, he had said like one thing is like after the Real Madrid match, that was a turning point of the season. I believe if you go back to a podcast, I also said that same point, saying that the Real Madrid match will be a breakout, a turning point for us in a positive way. If we win them, this will make us charge towards the title. But unfortunately, lost the match. But the positive effect was there. It did make, and he himself said after that big frantic defeat, all the whole team together, they had a private meeting and they discussed we cannot keep losing. We have to do something. So internally, something changed after that match, which he touched up upon it in his interview. He also said like a lot of people, the media is covering about the salaries not paid on time and Suning is under huge financial constraints. And Bastoni very calmly said, you know what, the thing is like not all football players are behind money. It's something called passion, and we are very passionate and we are to play for Inter, so money follows. And saying that from a young player really means a lot. Like you've been hearing the news with the Donnarumma and stuff, the young players, how they ask for crazy salaries and the agents spoiling them. When Bastoni said that, it was like a breath of fresh air. Really good to hear from him. And most importantly, he said that he would like to captain Inter in the future. So it's good to hear from Bastoni. He covered some few
Yeah.
points.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of players vying for that captaincy spot. We'll see when we come to that. Actually, we
Right.
don't know what will happen with regards to that. But coming to the next person I want to talk about, of course, another another potential candidate for the captain role, and probably the favorite for majority of Inter fans is Milan Skriniar, of course. So he also had an interview, and he said a lot of things which caught a lot of eyes, of course, in a good way. So he highlighted that he had never played with a midfield of five before, and he had to adapt to playing to that, and he highlighted his struggles on that. Of course, I'll let you touch upon it, but then another point he highlighted was about Ericsson, that he all they always he said that the team always believed in Ericsson. It's just that he actually likened it to his situation, saying that Ericsson, like him, needed time to adapt, and you can see the results now. And then he said that he's first. He's very happy to be first on the table, but then he needs to keep. We need to keep going as a team. It's not over until it's over. And yeah, he also said that he like Bastoni. He also said that the Champions League exit hurt them a lot, and of course now they're focused on one goal.
On the league,
So
yes.
yeah, on the league, and of course, and with all that being said, with those are a few points from his interview. But what did you make of these few points and the
I
overall
think,
interview? What?
yeah, so both
Yeah, overall,
Bastoni and Skriniar, one thing was common from both the interviews said that the focus is on the league. And I think the word Scudetto is banned from the locker room. Like they're focusing too much. Like, let's not jinx it to the last minute. And I think
mm,
Bastoni also pointed out, saying that Juventus were always the favorites. So now that they are out of Europe, so now their main focus, Juventus will be like a wounded tiger. So let's hope Inter is also equally focused as Juventus. And Skriniar's
mm,
interview, like you said, you mentioned all, you covered up all the points. But one point which caught my attention was he said, if Inter wins the Scudetto, and he's definitely
yeah.
going to put he's going to tattoo it on his skin,
Mm.
like the Scudetto, something for him to cherish. It's the first major achievement. So that is good to hear, very refreshing, and it's nice.
Yeah, yeah, and also, yeah, of course, that was very refreshing to hear. And he like Bastoni also spoke of the ownership and management, wherein he said these. I like to see the rationality behind these players. Like with the older Inter teams, I won't expect any players to be this rational. But the rationality that goes into their interviews is what I like. He said that these are things you can't control. All you can do is your job, right? You
Right,
can't like Skriniar is not going to run behind the media team saying make this content, make that content. That's not his job. Just to give an example, of course. But that's what I liked about them, the maturity. They know that yes, there is a difficult situation, and as time passes, things will resolve or they will have more clarity. So they just need to keep doing their job, and if they do their job and if it bears fruit at the end of the season, it will be even better than what it is right now. Of course,
right.
we are enjoying the wins, but in the end it's going to be better, right? And yeah, I just loved hearing those excuse me, I just loved hearing those interviews, and yeah, that was great to watch. And just to cap off, another piece of news is, of course, our sporting CEO Beppe Marotta's health condition. He was diagnosed with COVID a few weeks ago, and of course his condition has actually improved. But he was admitted to a hospital just to keep a close eye on, of course, because he is older, on the older side, right? So I mean, in speedy recovery to him. Hope he recovers well, because Beppe Marotta is someone, when he joined Inter first, I was really happy, and I think he's done a pretty
He's done
decent,
a
like
pretty
he's done a
decent
good
job.
job. Yeah,
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 more
he's
than
done a
decent, you
good
could
job in
say.
my opinion. Yeah, yeah, of course, people make mistakes. Marotta, for all his brilliance, he can make mistakes. He is a human being after all, and that's up to people's perception as to what mistake he's made. I'm not going to delve into all of that, but since that's the chatter, I just had to mention it. But yeah, I
Right.
mean, speedy recovery to him, because he is very important. We've seen, you remember the match wherein he went and he hugged Vidal, all those things, and he's done a good job along with Conte and everyone to keep everything together. And he's that middleman to link the club staff to the ownership, right? He knows what is going on. He has a direct line to the interviews. So he is very important. I personally feel he's someone we need to keep for more years to come, because we've known along with Conte what he's done at Juventus. Of course, they have their differences at moments, but we all know Beppe Marotta is the king of free transfers. Um, yeah, and leaving all that aside, just from a human perspective, I wish him the best. But coming that was that, Manish. Those were certain headlines. Now, of course, there has been news that unfortunately Vidal and Eriksen are injured. And yes, when Vidal's injury news came out, I mean, first of all, I never wish injury upon any player, be it from any team or whatever it is. That's just, I don't think that's a humane thing to do. But Vidal, of course, had a surgery today. But before that, the news came out that he's injured and he will be out for a month. So that's one miss. And Ericsson has a slight inflammation on his left knee, it seems like, and he might not be out for long. Let's hope he's not out for long, but he's mostly going to miss tomorrow's match. So what's your take on that? Because when I saw Vidal being injured, many people were like, "Oh yeah, it gives Ericsson the room to start." But you don't celebrate injuries. We need Vidal. As much as he's struggled, Manish, he is important for the team. Like we know why. And now that Ericsson won't be there, who's going to start. So with all that being said, keeping putting things, and no disrespect to Gagliardini, I want, like, I hope he does well, but keeping all that in mind, Vidal's injury, he's going to miss a month. Ericsson, hopefully only one match, nothing more. How do you think we need to approach tomorrow's game? Because it's not going to be easy. Let's not consider Torino's stable position, and let's not take it lightly. Of course, it's going to be the 3-5-2, and probably tactically the same principles. But how do you think we should go about it? Because maybe like Gagliardini is the favorite to start, but what do you think? Because now we need to manage a game in a certain way where we know we can't bring Vidal on, we can't bring Ericsson on, and it's then going to be either Sensi or Vecino in midfield. So how do you think? How would you manage this situation?
See, first going to this match, like I said, it's a potential banana peel. Like we beaten the tougher teams, but sometimes when you play the tougher teams, the mentality is set right. You know that Atlanta is a very tough team, and everybody's focused. But these smaller teams, when like they're missing a lot of players, and also Torino, I think they won just once in last 9 matches. And if you check the form out of the last five, I think they had a couple of draws, three draws, one win and one loss. So saying going to the match it could be quite tricky because why the Inter's mentality, in the sense like if the players are rightly focused and we had a good week's rest and stuff. So this could be tricky in that way. And also with the news that Arturo Vidal are missing. Arturo Vidal, like I said, he's a very experienced player. Although he had one of the very bad matches last game, it could be because of maybe pain on his knee and inflammation stuff, which we don't know. But he had one of the worst matches. So seeing that, I think a lot of fans were really upset and wanted him not to start anymore. But once his injury is out, then I think a lot of fans cherish, like you rightly said, Ericsson is going to be on a main guy. But saying that, see, like I said, I always keep saying Inter is not a team of 11 players. We have a team of 22 to 24 players, and everyone's contribution is important. Now it comes to the point where we start using new players because with Vidal out, with Ericsson out, I think most likely Gagliardini is going to start. We don't have any of the option, and with Sensi and Vecino just fit to be backups. They're not going to start. That's for sure. So it's could be really tricky because this type of matches is playing away. It's very tricky, and Conti, he likes to close down opposition. So Gagliardini luckily has been good for us this season. He didn't have a very bad match so far. I think last season he had a couple of atrocious matches, but this season, like, thankfully, has been good. So I think Gagliardini is going to slot in, and he's played in his position before. So let's hope for no surprises there. And
Yeah,
we can only cope with what we have on plate. We cannot cry or ask for anything more.
yeah,
Still, season gets over. And I think Inter's style of playing is, you asked me how is Inter's tactical approach. I like Conti's the way of movement. Everything is brilliant. One thing which particularly caught my attention is when the wing backs attack, I think the midfielders come and cover the position. Like, for example, Hakimi goes down the wing and Barella comes and slots in that role and covers that area. So that type tactics, Conti has started it, and players know exactly how to deal with the threat.
yeah.
And saying that they also do a 3-5-2 formation, which is quite similar to
Yeah,
ours.
yeah, of course. Of course, I will touch upon the tactical approach, but just to quickly add to what you've said, Manish,
Yeah.
how do you think we should approach it? And I want you to quickly give me a predicted 11 as well, along then give me your tactical approach for Inter. How do you think Inter will go about this?
So Inter pretty much this match is like Inter how have they been playing. It's I don't see any new surprise. Only thing with Gagliardini being in the lineup, that's the only major change. Rest 11 is going to be same. Going to start with back three of Skriniar, Divrai, Bastoni, Hakimi, Barella, Brozovic, Gagliardini, and Perisic, and Lautaro and Lukaku to start with Sanchez coming off
Yeah,
the bench. That is pretty much the predicted lineup for Inter, and Inter to take control of the match. And Torino's defense has been quite bad this season. Also, they're missing a lot of players. I think last game they had around 7 to 8 players out, and this match they're missing one of the main midfield dynamos. Thomas Rincon is one of their main players. So, saying that, I expect us to have control of this match. I'm expecting a much more Inter to have possession, not to sit back, because these are the matches where
mm,
Inter should take more initiative. Okay, I understand teams like attacking teams like Lazio, Atlanta and stuff. Inter gives them the opportunity to control the match and to hit on counter. But this time match, I think Inter will not use a counter attacking tactic. Inter will use more possession based football, and we can see a good match in this where Inter having most of the possession. That's my thing.
yeah,
How Inter is going to approach this match.
yeah. I mean that I can agree with most of it. And the thing is, Torino, I've watched them quite a bit this season, and I will like to discuss their tactics and their starting 11 and everything. So, of course, as you said, Manish, they had like 8 absentees in the last game, basically most of them being COVID cases. And apart from Nicholas Nkulu, one of their centre backs, everyone has recovered, but most of them have just recovered, so they might not make it into the 11. Like Belotti, Wilfred Singo, as we pointed out, to name those. But there is a lot of doubt regarding their starting 11. Of course, they play a 3-5-2 as well on paper, but just to give a probable 11 for them, their goalkeeper is going to be Salvatore Serego without a doubt. Right centre back Armando Izzo, in my opinion. The centre back will be Lianco, and on the left centre back, I expect Gleison Bremer to start. Although some sources said Buongiorno might start, but I think it's going to be Gleison Bremer. Then you have Mergim Voivoda at right wing back, because Singo, even he's just returned from COVID, so it's tough to imagine him starting. I think then it has to be Sasa Lukic in midfield. And just to point something about Sasa Lukic, he is sort of like a player who likes to drive with the ball, and I've seen him a bit. He has actually scored 3 goals this season, so someone who we need to keep an eye out for. And Rolando Mandragora, the central midfielder, like not a traditional defensive midfielder, but sort of sweeps up the ball. But I think to your point, Tomas Rincon will be a big miss, because he's like that proper physical defensive midfielder in midfield for them. Then they are expecting to start Daniele Bazzelli along with left wing back, as we said, Christian Ansarli. I think he's going to start, and we need to keep an eye out for him. And up top is the big question, because Belotti is, yes, there is a day to recover for Belotti, and for us, even for Ericsson. We will determine Ericsson's situation tomorrow, regardless of what happens, regardless of the news right now. But I think it's definitely one of the strikers that goes up front is definitely going to be Antonio Sanabria. He's pretty okay. He's not that great, but I think the other battle would be either Zaza or Belotti, in my opinion, or even Simone Verdi. It's tough to call. There are just too many variables with um, Torino's probable lineup because of so many COVID cases and injuries. But about the lineup 3-5-2. But just Manish, quickly coming to Torino's tactics. On paper, it's 3-5-2 like us, but on the pitch, I've watched them a lot this season, and the one game that uh, I clearly remember is the Derby della Mole, because the one against Juventus, which they play and they lose almost every time. They just can't seem to win it. But I remember they played Juventus and they lost 2-1, and it was a hard fought one. Basically, what they did was, yes, on paper it's 3-5-2, but on the pitch it's 5-3-2 is what they do. Their left wing backs stuck in slightly. It's a compact shape. Everyone closes half spaces down, and the strikers, whoever it will be it Zaza, Worthy, Belotti, whoever it is, they drop closer to midfield to cut, basically to neutralize the opposition's midfield. That's what they did to Juventus. And of course, Juventus have quality, but Juventus in that match had to go out wide. And whenever Juventus overloaded their box, Torino had 7 to 8 players in the box to counter every cross. So they do defend deep, and they will make it hard for us to break down. And then it's simple strategy. They will look to get us on the counter, because if Belotti starts, especially, he has the speed to get you on the break. So that's Belotti, and even Simone Verdi is a slightly dangerous on the break. So the only one of the areas where I feel Inter can capitalize is a lack of a traditional playmaker, which Torino don't have, in my opinion. They don't have a proper creative playmaker in that 11. So that's one thing we can exploit. What I mean to say is that if we push up high, we can be a bit more relaxed, in the sense that they don't have a good creative distributor on the ball. But you never say never. On the other hand, I'm expecting the wing backs to make a difference as well, because Voivoda's there, and Ansaldi, I've spoken about him. He's very versatile. He's good in moving between the lines. And another threat I would keep an eye out for is set pieces, Manish, because Torino have scored 20 goals this season, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, 20 goals, and 10 of them, 35 goals, 20 open play, and 10 set piece goals. So even 10 set piece goals is a lot. And I said Bremer being
Bremer
one of
has
their
been
top scorers.
one
Yeah,
of the aerial
Bremer,
threats,
and
yes.
yeah, exactly. And Simone Verdi has 3 set piece assists, so that says a lot. They do rely a lot on set pieces, so that's something we need to be careful of. With that being said, of course, we are good at defending as well. There's nothing more to say. There's Skriniar, but we can't take them lightly. So yeah, I mean, it's not going to be easy with Torino. I expect them to line up in a 5-3-2, as I expect them to line up in a 5-3-2 and sit back. And as you said, we will be taking control. The key, in my opinion, as to how we should break down Torino is what I noticed in the Juventus match as well, is where what Juventus failed to do. Like, yes, Juventus won the match 2-1, but for the large part of the match, what Juventus failed to do is, I remember, is that Ronaldo, of course, played as a striker, but he had to uh, go out wide on the left to support, his wide players at that time, and no one from midfield actually went out to support Ronaldo. So the key here is link up play. So Ronaldo was left isolated. So what we need to be doing is that, let's say if Lautaro Martinez goes more towards the left, and if, let's say, Perisic is alongside him, we need a midfielder to drop in closer to Lautaro Martinez to support him. We need that constant support, and there will have to be moments where we take risks. So that's what we need to do to break down their defense. Quick transitional play. My only worry in that case, if we, and actually Conte, of course Conte will realize that, and Stellini, of course Stellini will also. But my only worry in that case is Gagliardini. Again, I don't have anything against them, but we know he is not that great on the ball. We know off the ball the guy can do a job, but on the ball he's not the most creative player. So yeah, I mean, it's, in my opinion, it's going to be a very tricky match, Manish. And um, yeah, I think tomorrow is a match where yes, Lukaku can make a huge difference tomorrow, because of course we know his hold up play is amazing, and he's one player who can bring others into play, and that's exactly what we need. We need others to feed off Lukaku tomorrow. We need that support play tomorrow to quickly, catch their players off guard. And I think another approach that would help us is that, if, even though this doesn't happen usually, is Lukaku and Lautaro alternating sides. I think that would catch their centre backs off guard, Bremer and Lianco and Izzo. But that was just my tactical outlook on how Torino would, of course, line up. And sorry, Manish, if I had to predict a starting 11 quickly for us, I think, to your point, it's just going to be the same. My only dilemma is, if, as I said, if we really need quick transitional play, should it be Gagliardini? But then we don't have a choice, right? Vecino has only played for the Primavera this season, and to his credit, he scored a goal there. But Sensi, again, you can't rely on him.
And you
So
cannot
that's
risk
on our
Sensi
tactic.
also in this
Yeah,
match
you
because
can't.
we
You
already
can't.
have two
Not at
central
this point.
midfielders out
Yeah,
and we
exactly.
wouldn't
Not at
risk.
this point.
So I think
Yeah,
this is a safe bet like Gagliardini to
yeah,
start
three. Yeah,
Torino
exactly.
with his
Yeah.
physical presence. He could really do
Yeah,
wonders
so
for us.
it's pretty much a 3-5-2 versus a 5-3-2. That was that. And we'd like to, of course, on a previous video wherein we did the Atalanta review, Manish, of course,
Right.
we had like we always do, we had a few comments. So I guess we can just quickly look into them. Mohammad Zaid here says that we should wear the treble kits if we actually win the Scudetto. I mean, I'll just answer that first. I mean, of course, as I've already said, I'm not like, I'm happy with the wins. I enjoy the moment, like Conte does. He says we enjoy for a bit, but the next day we are fully focusing on the next match, because there's 12 finals to go. So Mohammed, if you're still watching us on a regular basis, we will definitely wear the treble season kits. I guess I have them, but we are very reserved for now. We are grounded for now. Yeah, but what's your take on that, Manish? Do you have an answer to that?
No, I have my treble kit ready, and like you said,
Yeah,
once Inter wins Scudetto, put it on with the Italian shield
yeah.
on.
Yeah. The next comment is by Gerald. If I'm sorry if I've pronounced that name wrong, but he says, with more Italian teams crashing out of Europe, what do you guys think of how that can change the next couple of matches, considering that every will be fully focused on the league? That's a very good point, because Manish, Gagliardini also actually had an interview recently wherein he said that he Inter as a whole always thought that Juventus were always in the Scudetto race, be it
Correct.
regardless of them being in the Champions League or not. So what do you think of this? Because I think Gerald here is right, because he says that Juventus will now be more,
No,
ferocious,
I
what they want to do.
agree with Joel's point. The saying that
Yeah,
we never counted Juventus out.
yeah,
Juventus are such a strong team with all the players now coming back from injury, players like Dybala and slowly coming back, which no other competition left. So it's like pretty
mm,
much to prove his worth. And if the rumors are going right, Ronaldo is looking for a new club. Ronaldo also want to show the world
yeah,
what can he do with that anger,
yeah,
with that hatred, because I think he got severely battered by the media after the free kick wall.
mm,
So I think wounded Juventus will go all out to prove their worth. saying that we still have a healthy 10-point cushion, but that 10 point is just like a mirage. Saying that because they're going to be, I think they might easily beat Napoli. So it's going to be 7 points
Yeah.
with the final 10 to 11 games to go. So Juventus are
Mm,
never out. I think all the interviews has pointed out, Bastoni, all saying that, we always consider Juventus two favorites, but they obviously come back with vengeance. So that is that. And AC Milan also, to their credit, they're playing really well. For the European match also, which I had a watch, they really played well against Manchester United. But let's hopefully they get them occupied in that. And I want their European journey
mm,
slightly more to continue, where they can get
yeah.
more players injured and severely distracted with the final
Uh,
10 games. So saying this, yes, Inter should focus on Inter's matches first. I would say that will be my priority. Then uh, saying that we should not lose our eye on our main goal, that is Scudetto.
yeah, I mean, I can understand that. I mean, I wouldn't hope injuries on anyone, but the thing is, I think what my perspective about Juventus is that they're of course going to be more ferocious, and they were always in the Scudetto race. And of course, it's sort of a mirage because they have to play Napoli. And I mean, Napoli might. It's difficult to imagine Napoli like with their current mess inconsistency going on. It's not easy, but let's hope they can. But yeah, Juventus are right up there. We can't count them out. And with the team, like we need to keep doing our job. We
Right.
need to focus on ourselves. And I never count AC Milan out. Yes, they have overachieved. Yes, but then it's all on merit, in my opinion. And even with injuries, with so many injuries, they've actually managed to win matches,
That's a
which
really
many
plus
people.
point, which I think no other club can cope what they have done
Yeah,
with so many
that's what
injuries,
I feel.
yet to
When
be so
yeah,
effective.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, I don't like seeing any player injured and all, and but the way Milan have coped with injuries, I mean, nobody expect them to the. I think they have shown the best mental perseverance since that post lockdown last season. Kudos to them, and it's not going to be easy. And I think what to your point, Manish, just to add to your point, that I feel that the fact that they've actually the way they played against Manchester United yesterday, I was watching it. I think that's a huge plus point for them mentally. I personally feel, and if they actually beat United, even if they stay in that extra competition, I think psychologically it's going to give them a major boost beating someone like Manchester United. So fingers crossed, it's not going to be anyone except us lifting the Scudetto at the end of the season. But all I want to say is that it's not over. 6 points from
Right.
Milan, 10 points from Juventus, with it being reduced to 7 potentially. We don't know yet, or 9. We don't know yet. But yeah, it's not over. It's still a three-way race, and all Inter need to do is focus on what they on their matches. Just keep the rest of the talk outside. Just focus on playing each match at a time, as Conte says. Those were some comments, Manish, and I think we are pretty much towards the end of our preview for the Torino match away at the Grande Olimpico Torino. But yeah, so with that being said, Manish, what's your score prediction going to be for the match? Because yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
like
going
I
to be an
said,
easy one. So what do you
yes,
predict?
I personally never expect any easy matches. And I think when the
Yeah.
reverse fixture, we had taken it for granted, saying that, oh, Torino missing a lot of key players, we can easily beat them. And they stunned us with having just, I think within halftime, they were 2-0 ahead of us. So that we can never count anybody out. So saying that, I expect a very cautious approach by Conte, and saying that Conte won't be there on this. This is going to be very tricky. Okay, it's San Siro, yes, but playing away and missing Conti would be really important. But still, nonetheless, I'm expecting a 2-1 victory. 2-1, why? Because Torino, you can never count them out. They're a wounded team and they're fighting for relegation. Always playing relegation battle teams are going to be difficult from now on. So I'm expecting a 2-1 hard fought win from our side. And I would say it's Lukaku to score the goals, both the goals for us.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, to your point, Manish, I don't think this is going to be easy. I think if a player has to make, like, of course, on the pitch anyone can make a difference, but I think if a player had to make a difference off the bench tomorrow, it could be Alexis Sanchez. In my opinion, I think he is someone who can really make a difference in breaking those defenses, playing line breaking passes, which he actually did in the first leg where we won 4-2. And yes, it's never easy to play a team that is fighting in the just in the relegation zone, fighting to survive, and especially someone who's lost to Crotone, they're going to try and come back hard. And yeah, with and the fact that we are not going to have Vidal tomorrow, sorry, on Sunday, and mostly not even Ericsson, that is a bit worrying. So I I don't think I'll go for a prediction, Manish, per se, a scoreline prediction. but I think we'll nick it. I hope at least we'll edge it. We'll edge a win. Inter will edge a victory. I don't know the score line. I'm not going to predict the scorers, but it's definitely going to be a tough one. And I think this will really test. This will be another test for our squad depth, because this is a point now that we need to step up without certain players. Like, you can never take the key players for granted. You need to be ready without them, and with them you need to be ready. It works both ways. So if Vidal and Ericsson are not there, Gagliardini has to step up. Be it whoever, it's mostly going to be Gagliardini, but he has to step up tomorrow. And let's hope once again Bastoni, Lukaku, Brozovic, Barella don't get a yellow card, because we have Sassuolo after that. So that's another tough one. So yeah, Manish, I think I'm not going for a scoreline prediction, but I think we'll edge a victory, and it's definitely going to be a hard fought one. And I think, just to cap it off lastly, yes, Conte is not going to be on the sidelines tomorrow, and yes, it does come into play. Like, he doesn't have direct control over like the on-game management, because last week against Atalanta, he was literally yelling and guiding everyone. Like he had a controller in his hand. But I think at this point, as you had said previously, that spending a week with Conte, they can hear his voices, hear his screams in his head, and they understand what is expected of them, the team. And I think Inter, the players in our club, have grown in terms of being mature and showing the right level of awareness on the pitch. And I think Stellini, at the same time being his assistant coach, has learned a lot. With that being said, it's just that Conte is going to be on the bench, but before the match, he's going to be with the team. So I think that part is not much of a big worry, but yeah, I can understand if people are worried about it. I can definitely understand that perspective. But yeah, just I think we will edge a victory tomorrow. So yeah, do you want to add something, Manish, or I'll cap off? Is there
No, I
anything
think
you
it's
would like
good.
to add?
No, let's hope for a win, and then the
Yeah,
final game before the international break, that's against Sassuolo. So yeah, that's all.
yeah,
Permission
yeah.
mine.
So thank you, people, for tuning into our podcast. That was our review for the upcoming match against Torino on Sunday. Um, yeah, you can find our podcast on, of course, on YouTube, as known as the Solo Inter Podcast. If you can't watch it, you can always listen to it if you want. It's available on audio platforms like Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, various other platforms like Apple Podcasts. So and it's known as the Solo Inter Podcast there as well. So please do give it a watch, and yeah, or listen, and let's hope Inter can keep this run of wins coming, because we really need it. Once again, to reiterate, there are 12 finals to go, and let's hope we can win all of them. But yeah, focusing on Torino first, not an easy one. Yeah, let's hope we can win this, and Forza Inter.